Hello everybody, my name is Roxtus.
And I'm Solkio.
And welcome back to Warframe.
Woo!
Well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alrighty. So we have update 36, which is Jade Shadows in Warframe. This is pretty interesting. I just kind of wanted to quickly go over some of the new things, some of the key things that came up, and I just kind of looked at. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. So they did, within update 36 for Jade Shadows, they added in 2 new Lich type weapons, sisters weapons. So in that category, they added in the Sobek, which is really good. The Kuva Sobek is a very, very good variant. We already did a Archon hunt. Is it Archon?
Yeah, Archon hunt.
Yeah, we already did an Archon hunt with this. This is a very good one with the Heck. This is pretty much on par with the Heck. If you don't want to have to reload all the time with the Heck, this actually does pretty decently well. It's got a pretty good critical multiplier, pretty good critical chance, really good on multi-shot. Let's see what multi-shot is. Multi-shot as 5 on the base, 21, 21, and 2.3. And the Heck, which stands currently at, it has a really poor magazine. The magazine's on 4. I believe the Sobek is at 20, so it's really good because you basically get the continuous fire. Critical chance is at 23%, so it only goes up by 2% on critical chance, but the critical multiplier is very, very low, being at 2.1%. The multi-shot at 7 and the multi-shot at 6 or 5 for the Sobek. So this, even though it does have more multi-shot, the critical multiplier isn't as high. It's pretty low in terms between the two. So just for me, I really like using Sobek. I've actually had my previous Sobek, which actually has 8 Forma on it, and I just love using that thing. And currently, this is my go-to. But as you can see, my previous Sobek, which I have been using for a while, it has actually acid rounds on it. I have completely gone to a new Sobek. Love this thing. This thing is really good. Just pick this up as soon as they release this. This is really good. If you're doing Archon, again, this almost, if not, it definitely does almost take the place of the Heck, except for if you're trying to get burst damage, maybe. Because if you're stealthed and you hit that Archon, when you're stealthed, you get that damage bonus if they do not notice you right away. So maybe the Heck you can definitely one-shot with. I'm not sure on the Sobek, but Sobek, to me, if I don't care if he knows I'm there or not, that's a pretty good one where you can be able to take out the Archons with. So this is a very good weapon right off the gate. And then they also added in another Tenet weapon, which is the Tenet Glaxon. Now the Tenet Glaxon, even just like the basic Glaxon Amprex, or any of those other AoE weapons, especially the Ignis, do way better than even the Glaxon. The Glaxon is just not as good for it's pretty poor. It's got a 2.2 critical multiplier, critical chances at 20%. Status is really good. I'd have to say, if you want to just sit on something and freeze it, which we'll get to freezing in a little bit, but if you want to sit on something and freeze it, this is a pretty good weapon for that. But I even find the mod for this, the new mod that they added in through the Nightwave, to be pretty poor. The clip delegation for the Sobek is really, really good for the Sobek. Just going over that really quickly. And the proton overcharge is really poor. You only get 90% critical damage on a killer assist. And slain enemies have a 2% chance to drop an energy orb per cold status effect affecting them. Energy orbs already drop at a pretty decent rate. You don't need this just to get the energy orbs back. And then when you are looking at that mod, it's a 90% critical damage bonus. When you are looking at your Glaxon, which I would say for the cold isn't bad. It does add more critical damage when you're doing cold, but even Vital Sense does 120% critical damage. This is pretty significant. This is 30% knockoff. I would have expected a little bit better off of that mod if you're trying to give something that's significant to the weapon and be like, hey, this does a pretty good job. This is significant for this weapon. Not so much. I wish that it was a little bit more unique. And plus two, when you're looking at the Glaxon, there's no real reason to put on Galvanized Aptitude because you only have one status type, which is cold. You only have one thing that you can throw on it. And I just find a lot of the different weapons, and especially some different weapons, whether they be like Gorgons or whatever else. I find them to be very underpowered. Especially, I would love to use my Supra and be able to use that type of a weapon.
I really want to use the super.
Yeah, I love the look of it. It looks like a battery, but it just, the function of it just does not actually work. But going from the Ignis, I really like the Ignis. I'm going to love using the Sobek from now on out. I like it. It does a really good job. It's really consistent. I don't have to reload as often as the Heck. And like I've said before, it's really good with the Archons. Another weapons that we could almost consider seeing coming through the Lich and the Kuva systems. And this, again, like if you're adding on to the Lich or the Kuva systems, I don't know if I've said this or not before, but you're adding on more weapons. The more weapons that we add on to that type of a system, the harder it is to actually get those weapons. Because if you have, let's say, 20 weapons in the Kuva system, it's a 5% chance to drop for each of those weapons. You add more weapons into it, let's say we go to 40, now you only have a 2.5% chance to drop that one weapon type. So it'd be nice to see where maybe there's, another expansion on that, and maybe we have another planet that we can go to, or maybe separate drops from separate planets where you can get specific weapons, or maybe you could select the weapon. I'm not sure, because like there's only going to be so much that you can do with this until it kind of gets ridiculous to the point where it's like, hey, we've got 40 weapons at a 2.5% drop rate per weapon. We can't go to a 1% because people are going to be going to 100 different weapons in the Kuva system. So but potential drops that we could actually see would really be cool is the Kuva Ignis.
Yes.
Kuva Ignis would be a crazy one. Right now, the Ignis is so good. The Sobek is just like right on its heels. Sobek is actually kind of chomping at its heels for me right now. It's pretty good. But the Ignis is one of those that's just, it's my go-to. It's pretty much a really good go-to for anyone. Flamethrower, I love it. I'm a flame trooper. This thing does really, really well. Love to see a Kuva Ignis, but at the same time, like, this is a really overpowered weapon. So maybe not. If we had a Kuva Ignis, it would pretty much break the system because of how good it would be.
I mean, I would still love that though.
Oh yeah, I would love that. Maybe even to the point, maybe nerfing the critical multiplier, because critical multiplier is pretty good here. And then adding more status, and then just adding a little bit more heat maybe, but still, like, this weapon is really, really good. But I mean, maybe you could just keep the stats the same and then just give it a reskin, give it a recolor, because all these Kuva and Tenet weapons are just a reskin of the same weapon. Like the Ignis, you have just the basic Ignis. So not really much there to go for the Tenet weapons. It's just a reskin of the same weapon over and over and over again. Same thing with any of the Prime variants on anything. It's just a reskin of those different type of weapons. So you have the basic Ignis and the Ignis Wraith. I don't really understand why we're making so many different skins of weapons, or that we're making so many different weapons that are just better than other weapons, and they're all just reskins of each other, but I guess that's fine. Just the main thing that I'm really concerned about with the Kuva system is the amount of forma that you have to put into every single weapon that comes out. So that really becomes a tax on the actual system. Another weapon that we could see through the Tenet that I would love to see, I've got 4 of them here. The Supra. So Supra Vandals. Tenet Supra. It would be interesting to see a Tenet Opticore, Tenet Lanka, or a Tenet Snipertron. And I think my favorite out of them would be a Tenet Lanka. Let's get, instead of a 5 puncture through, let's just either have an indefinite puncture through where Mags Bubble works really, really well with the Lanka. Let's have like an indefinite or a 7 punch through, and maybe even a faster charge rate on something like this. Opticore, I wish I could use this. I used to use this a lot often. I have not picked this thing up in like 2 years, I'd have to say. I have not actually used the Opticore. The Opticore is to the point it's really, really bad. I wish it had indefinite punch through like the Lanka. If you pop it into Mag's bubble, the projectile will basically blender everything inside of that bubble and it'll kill everything very quickly. So Rick and Morty right there is just pop them into the portal, pop them into the blender, and you just spin it around and kill them. The Opticore, though, this would be really cool if it was just a laser beam and it just shot and it just went through everything. So I wish this had actually had indefinite punch through and or a form of true damage, something that was actually interesting, that it would actually kill things. And the Opticore right now just doesn't do a lot of damage. It's not very useful. And like even the bow, the Natarek, or even the Dread, or even a late, my favorite is the Gridlock, but Latron or the Gridlock do really, really well. And something like the Opticore, I haven't picked it up in a very long time, but it just, you pick it up and it doesn't do what you would think it would be. It's not, it's not a laser cannon. It doesn't feel like a laser cannon. It doesn't operate like a laser cannon. I like the charge time, that it takes such a long time to charge, but the output, the function, is just not there. It doesn't deal any damage. So I wish, again, that they would actually do something to this to make it useful. But yeah, my favorite one would be, coming out of the gate, a Tenet Lanka. But again, these weapons are all just basic reskins of like the Ignis. So if you had like a Kuvas Sobek, it's just the reskin or another variant of the basic Sobek. So I don't know why we're adding in more of these like weapons. I wish we could expand upon weapons or, do something a little bit different, but at least we got 2 new weapons, and I'm pretty nice. This is nice to have a new Sobek that actually has way better stats. You get way better stats with this new Sobek, especially the previous critical chance was at 11% to 21. That's a big jump for me. So I really like that. That's really nice that we have that new system right there. I like that new Sobek.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got pickup changes. So for mods, they have changed the mod system a few times, and I don't know, especially when you're picking up mods and you have that mod pull up on the screen, hey, you got this mod. This is pretty cool. This has changed a few times in the past. I think we are still kind of dealing with the same issue, which is the mod pulls up on your screen and it takes up a huge portion of your screen. How do we deal with that? And they've kind of dealt with it in a few different ways in the past. I know I have one screenshot of it being on the far right side of my screen, and now they've actually kind of moved it to the left side of the screen. Well, there's a big problem with that, because if anyone comes up on your channel like Little Duck, they override that mod and they go over that mod, and that's actually a pretty big problem, because now you can't even see that mod anymore. The communication line basically overrides the visual of that mod popping up. And that's just kind of annoying, because now you have 2 elements that are basically fighting each other over the same space on the UI. And to be able to actually have different space for different things that actually go onto the UI is pretty useful. But also, the mod takes up a pretty significant amount of space. I wouldn't change the UI transmissions at all. The UI transmissions are completely fine the way they are on the left side. I liked the old transmissions where Lotus was actually not moving. In the original variant of Warframe, Lotus would just pop up on the screen and she wouldn't move. She wouldn't have any animations for, talking or anything else like that. She would just kind of sit there and she would, just blink on the screen, I believe, and, you'd actually hear her voice. But now we actually have animations for her, which is pretty cool. But I would almost move the mods to the right side of the screen again. Yeah, I don't like that. But plus 2, the size of the mod. The size of the mod, I think, is the main thing. It takes up a huge portion of the screen. I love the old system. Where it popped up on the screen and it showed the mod. I love that system. I would keep that system. The new system is where we don't even see the mod anymore. If you go into the Orokin Derelict or Orokin Void, you don't even see that mod pop up anymore. So you just see, basically, like if you would see a regular resource, it just pops up on the bottom of the screen and it just shows, hey, you just got this mod. That's kind of it. You don't get to see the visuals of the mod anymore. You don't get to see, like the artwork or anything on the mod anymore. It's just, hey, it just pops up, you got this mod, and that's it. Other places, whether it be series or generally any other place, I don't know specifics, because it seems like it's just relevant to the Void that it just shows as a resource. But in other parts of the world of Warframe, it shows the full version of the 3-star, and then for the other 2-star and the other 1-star mods, it shows basically like if you did a pickup or a regular pickup or any other drop, it shows that as per usual, as at the bottom of the screen. Well, not as per usual because they just changed this, but I don't like it too much as the resource drop. I like the old visual where it pops up on the screen and it shows it as per usual. The one thing I would do if it were me and if I were doing the UI, I would reduce the size of the mod. The mod takes up a pretty significant amount of size on the screen. Another thing too is to consider is where is its living placement. The transmissions always live on the left hand side of the screen. They always live there and they do a really good job in that space. With the 10.0 and any of your allies being on the top right portion of the screen, that's perfect. That is where it's supposed to be. That's where it's nice to be. On the bottom right hand side, you got your combo counter and all the information there on what weapons you have equipped and what weapons you're going to swap to. That's nice. That lives there. That's always been there. That's a nice position to actually put it. And the top left of the screen, you have your map. And if you hit M for map or whatever the button is you press for map, it pulls open your map UI and you're able to see where you want to go and where you want to go to. It's kind of nice though too with map that they actually have kind of fixed. I'm not sure if they fully fixed, but it seems like they've kind of fixed the waypoint system. I'm not sure to that extent how much they've actually fixed it, but it seems like it's kind of considerably fixed at this point. But again, for the mods, where do they live? Because now they're on the left side of the screen. They used to be on the right side of the screen. It seems like they're taking up screen space and we don't know where to put them. My thought on this is, basically taking the mod, moving from a big mod to having a small mod. My original thought on this was when this first came up and I looked at the drops and I'm like, wait a minute, my mods are now dropping on the bottom of the screen. What would I do about it? My main thought for that was have the 3-star because they're the rarest and they come up the least amount of time. Put that one as its usual self as the big mod and have that stay as the large mod, and then have the other mods come out smaller. So your 2-star mods would come out a smaller version, and then your bronze mod would come out even smaller, and have it just like that. But then my thought was, wait a minute, now you have 3 different placements for mods. Now this is taking up a lot of space on the screen because we have 3 different mods taking up a lot of space. This isn't good because now we have a whole bunch of visual on the screen and it takes away from the actual gameplay. The UI should be simplified down to one space where the mod lives. Otherwise, you're going to take up a lot of space because if you pick up all 3 mods, then you've got 3 mods that pop up on the screen. Man, that takes up a lot of room. So my thought to that was, hey, let's just move it back to the right-hand side of the screen and make the mod really, really small so that it doesn't take up a lot of space. And plus 2, it's nice, especially for an old player like me or anyone else that's been playing the game for a very long time, to actually see the art on the mod. I love seeing the art on the mod. The mod doesn't have to be so big that it takes up a big portion of the screen. It can be small enough where it can be adequate to the size of the screen, and so you can actually appreciate the art that's actually on the mod. As if you were to open it up in your arsenal, I love that the mod stays small, and then when you go over it, it pops open the mod and you can actually read the details on the mod. So just as if you were to hover over it, I love that animation. That animation when you get the mod, that it shows the base form of the mod where it's compacted, and then it'll open it up and it'll show you, hey, this is the mod you got. This is what you just got. I love that idea for the mods. I just wish that they were a little bit smaller maybe, and if they were on the right hand side, that might actually fix some of the issue. I don't like the drops. I like the idea of being able to read the mod. I think that's kind of where I'm going with that. I just like to be able to see the visual of the mod. I don't like the new drop system. The new drop system, it's like, yeah, I can see I got the mod, but I still want to see the artwork. I really want to see the beauty in Warframe still. And I don't want to see just kind of, oh, let's get lazy about this and let's just throw it in a drop and just kind of give it a name. No, I really want to see that mod art, but I just don't want to have it. It's kind of a duality. Get it small enough to the point where it gets and it's able to fit on the side of the screen. And if you don't know, just really test it. Especially with how many changes they've made with UI over the years. They've made quite a few different changes with UI. Be able to just test it. Just, move it around on the screen. Really play with it around until you actually find a living location for it where it seems like it could live, and find the right size for it and be able to pop it up. Because I love, every time that I see the mods pop up, I love to see the visual of that mod popping up. Argon crystals, especially in the void now, they are actually showing up on the map. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. Every time I'm trying to find an argon crystal, or if anyone knew, it's like, hey, wait a minute, I need an argon crystal. You go into Hepet, or you go anywhere in void, and it'll show that resource on the map. I love that. Usually you have to mark it so that other people know, hey, I found an argon crystal over here. You need to come over here and get it. Well, the person runs over there, and then the marker disappears. Wait, where was that at again? I don't know, because the marker disappeared. Oh, that's not great. Versus now, it'll permanently show on your map where resources are for just specifically argon crystals. It's not confirmed yet for, like, if you were to go to Ceres and you want to find, let's see what the resources are. If you want to find Orkin cells, which are kind of rare, they don't actually show up for Orkin cells on your map. So it's nice that they did change this for the void, so you can actually see it on your map, so that newer players know, hey, there's an argon crystal there. It pops up that mod and it shows it. That is wonderful. That is really, really useful for newer players to go, hey, there is something rare there. You want to go grab that, because that resource is useful for building multiple different things. It would be nice if they actually added that in for, as I've said before, Orkin cells. Or let's go ahead and take a look at another planet. What else is rare here? Gallium. Gallium's pretty rare. We could have that for a few. Oh, Morphix. Morphix right there. So Morphix is a rare resource. Neuroids is a rare resource. So any of our rare resources, it would be nice to be able to actually have that throughout the rest of the map. I know we've just done it for the void, and maybe it's just the void for now, but it would be nice to see that for all of the resources that are rare. So like Morphix, Neuroids, any of the rarer resources, to be able to show those up on the map so that newer players that don't know that that is a rare resource can actually go and grab it, because it does pop up on your screen and you go, hey man, that's a rare resource. I need to grab that.
Yeah.
And you can go ahead and grab that. So that is a nice new change that we have actually seen off of this. Gear wheel. In and out of missions, your gear wheel will pop up as per normal in mission. And it'll basically, you can go to your dance emojis or anything else. In the orbiter, they have changed this. Now it actually shows fast travel for void relics, friends, market, anything that's really, really quick. And I love this. This is actually really, really nice, because it's a difference between being in or out of mission. It still has your emotes, so your emotes are still here. But for your immediate gear wheel, it's a hot, fast travel to going to anywhere that you actually want to go. And this is really nice, because then you don't have to go through the menu UI and have to go, hey, wait, I need to go navigation. Okay, well, navigation's right there. But let's say if I need to go, and I need to go to my arsenal. Well, that's 2 clicks away. If I need to go to, let's say, relics, I have to go halfway down this list, and this is a pretty long list to go through. And this does simplify it. But again, like, there's going to be a lot of different things. How many different things you're going to have to add in?
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of complicated. But this is nice to actually have a short, fast travel to different things. So I like that they added this in. This actually makes pretty good sense. Again, like, it depends on how many different things we're going to add in. Like Lotus depends on how many different terminals we have. But yeah, that is pretty nice though. Especially if you're trying to go to Arsenal or anything else. That is really nice. Did they even add in a fast travel for Sumaccord?
I don't think so.
Board the rail jack. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, you could do railjack.
So I do like that. That is nice because that's a hotkey to be able to go places. Even in Minecraft, I use -TP all the time just to get around the map.
I love that.
And this is really nice to just be able to go, hey, you know what? I need to go here. I need to go there. It would be nice and interesting to see. I'm not sure if it is true or not, but it would be nice to be able to see something in the dojo where you go into your dojo and you can just go ahead and go queue, fast travel. I need to go to the 10-0 lab, something like that. That would be cool to actually see something like that in the labs. So yeah, frost changes. We're going to go back to the icy cold here.
Frost.
So, the actually changed his passive. Cold status effects from Frost's abilities have their duration increased by 100%. Kind of. Frost gains 50 armor per enemy affected with cold status within 15 meters. Basically, we're doing the same thing as Ember's passive here. There's nothing too smart there. Not too much smart of a move. Receive 5% ability strength for every enemy. Oh, this seems similar. 5% ability strength for every enemy within 50 meters affected by heat status effect. That seems oddly familiar.
Yeah.
5% ability strength and 50 armor, 50 meters travel time. Let's take a look at that again. Let's see. 50 meters? Nope, 15 meters. So it is shorter range. Abilities increase duration by 100%. And 50 armor per affected with cold 15 meters. Okay, so that is a little bit different, but still, I don't know what to think about this. This is 15 meters. That's a pretty significant range. Ember is quite larger, 50 meters, but it kind of seems like it's kind of taking off of Ember a little bit. I do get that they have the ice and hot, cold, whatever duality they like to do the marketing for these two. That is kind of interesting. I gotta say one thing though, especially when you're even talking about League of Legends, Nocturne, they changed his entire bio. When you're rewriting a character or if you are reworking a character, don't change them too much to the point where they just completely become a different character, because they reworked Nocturne's lore and bio from being the nightmare that stalks your dreams to now he's a demon. He never used to be a demon. He never had any part of demon in him to begin with. He was your nightmare. It's like basically you went to sleep and Peter Pan started stalking your nightmare. That's exactly who Nocturne is and was. And now we've completely changed it around to Nocturne's now a demon. Same thing here. I try to keep the Warframes. If you have a base idea for the Warframe, or if you have a base idea for a Warframe story, I like to keep it along the same tangent line. This is Warframe. We're going to keep the same story that Warframe is, and how it's going to be for the rest of the Warframe gameplay, and how Warframe lives on through its legacy. Same thing here with Frost. The previous passive used to be if you get struck by struck by an attack, the attacker has a 10% chance to be frozen solid. And that's for, I believe, a 20-second duration. So I get that cold status effects from abilities have their duration increased by 100%, but this isn't always true. For Avalanche, it doesn't increase your freeze duration from 12.4 seconds to 24.8 seconds. It doesn't do that. So right there, it doesn't do that. It will increase your freeze any other duration. Same thing, I believe, as Saran. Saran also does increase status effects by 25% longer. So Frost basically does 4 times that amount just for cold though. She does for all status effects. So that's something to keep in mind. But this is really nice so that you actually can freeze someone, or cold them. Sorry, not freeze. Freeze is more Avalanche. But you can slow them by double the duration. So it just increases the duration for that slow and how long that slow persists. I would probably do Snow Globe. If your allies are inside the Snow Globe, this is what I'd potentially do. Frost is known for being the protector. Frost is known for saving the kids and being able to keep them inside the snow globe and being able to protect. That's his job. That's his role. That's who he is. If it were me, I would move this armor buff into the snow globe and basically go, hey, you know what? Any allies living within snow globe gain an armor buff of 200 armor, let's say, for 20 seconds or whatever. And as soon as they exit or enter the snow globe, that duration is refreshed, rebuffed. So that's what I would potentially do. And also Avalanche. He already actually has, I believe, an augment for that as well. Let's go ahead and look it up. Icy Avalanche. Allies within range, affinity range, are coated in ice that gains 40 overguard per enemy hit. Overguard increases by 50% of your armor once per enemy. So, yeah, it basically coats allies in protective. He is protective. This is who he is. He's protective. Why not put it into Snow Globe where your allies that walk into Snow Globe gain more armor? You're making an icy environment, make it real icy so that other allies can gain more armor. Maybe even have that procced off of how much power strength you have, and it gains more armor based upon that. That would be pretty nice. And then you don't just get that armor, you're the protector, you're protecting everyone else by giving them armor. So that would be pretty cool to see. Something like that. Abilities, adding more increased duration by 100%. Don't really need that. And of course, the cold status effect for the armor gain is completely conditional. I would completely throw that thing out of the window. That, to me, that's not consistent. I don't like that. I would actually, in fact, bring in the old passive. This is what I would actually think of, is bring in the old passive. Instead of a 10% chance or a 5%, or let's see here. Instead of a 10% chance for a melee attacker, I'd have it for any attacker that attacks you, whether they're ranged or whatever, and it would freeze them. And then not only would it freeze them, but it would also make them double vulnerable. So if they attack you and they get frozen, and then also any damage that you deal to them would do double damage. And I would actually call it, instead of where is it? Oh, I have it on. Instead of Biting Frost, which is really, really good, I would actually rename it, and I would get rid of Biting Frost, and I would make that your passive, and I would make it so that it is Frostbite. Literally Frostbite. That's what I would do. So 10% chance every time you're attacked, melee or ranged, your target gets frozen. The frozen person takes double damage from any source. And it's a 10% chance, so it's very rare, but when it does happen, they get frozen, or even upping the chance of that, and maybe even reducing the double damage to 150% damage, or something like that. That would make sense. Another thing you can do too, and something that comes from actually Chronicles of Narnia, is you have the Snow Witch, or whatever her name is. I forget what her name is, but she turns people into stone in the actual Chronicles of Narnia. Same thing here. You look at these guys that are frozen solid, they are frozen solid in ice. You could have something extra into that passive where maybe even that they are a stone, or basically an ice statue, and that they gain or give other individuals around them more armor based upon their cold, and they give your allies more armor based upon them being cold. I don't know. You could do something kind of unique with that passive. Kind of seems lazy, kind of seems like they threw out the old passive because they didn't know what to do with it, and they just kind of copied off of Ember. I don't know what to think about that. It doesn't seem like you're trying to keep the old passive or anything like that. I would have done something unique that kind of plays along the same role as Frost, which is the protector. He's not introverted, he's extroverted, he's a guardian. And this just kind of makes him introverted and kind of selfish, because now he's the only one getting that armor buff. So I don't like that too much. I like the more Guardian Frost, and maybe even that Guardian Frost could also affect himself. Why can't he affect his allies and himself along that same wall? So yeah. I would change that around a little bit different. And then finally, the last thing that I can think about is the path of Warframe. Jade Light, Jade Light. Okay, finally for Jade Light.
Jade Shadow.
So the Jade Shadows quest. It was interesting. I like that, Stalker has someone in his life. That is great. Where is
All the way down at the bottom.
it's all the way down at the bottom. Okay. So I like that he has someone in his life and there's actually something going for him there. But at the same time, oh my goodness, the music. But at the same time, it kind of deviates away from Warframe. Like I said with Frost, keeping the idea original and the original idea with Warframe. Jade Light was supposed to be the end of Margulis. The Orokin 7 ending Margulis, and we haven't even seen anything along the details of and more story of the Jade Light and being able to see more of the actual history, the history moments that were missing in pieces of the Warframe universe. And I would love to see a lot more of that story. And it seems like we're kind of going off on tangents again here with this whole thing. Stalker, like, he's supposed to be our demise, our bane. He's supposed to be the hunter that hunts us. And now I don't know what he's turning into. It's great to see, I guess, this whole thing with Jade, and okay, whatever her real name is, I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like we're going in the right direction here. I'm not sure. It's great to see, I guess, that he has a kid and all, he's a father. I get that we're having this moment here, but I don't get it. I really don't. I would love to see and experience more of the Warframe experience, what we actually saw from the beginning of Warframe till now. Maybe you guys have a different perspective on that. Let me know if there's any other changes that I haven't talked about in this episode. But yeah, I really man, I'd love to see a lot more of the original story, like Margulis, and what things are actually going on throughout the entire story. It seems like we get nitpick details here and there of the story trying to build up until the now. And I still find myself going, man, we're still missing major pieces, even small minor moments in time where it's like, where does this build up? It just kind of feels like we're going on tangents, but I'm not sure. But I just keep on finding myself missing the old Corpus tile sets, especially going back through even like Venus or some of these ship tile sets, and I go, man, I'm missing that window that I used to pop open and the vacuum would seal the room.
I did like breaking the windows.
But even the old Corpus tile sets, like there's that really annoying room that you'd walk in and it had, I believe it was like 8 different entry points, and you have to go between all the pillars and go behind the pillars to find where there was a specialty item. I forget. I think it was, oh my goodness, there's a lot going on. But I think it was through syndicates that your syndicate battalions would actually spawn behind those points. And I really miss the old tile sets. That's something that I really keep on coming back to. I really miss the old tile sets. I really love the Orokin Void. I really want to see more of the Orokin. I think we're kind of just like dancing around the main idea of Warframe. We're not really kind of like pinpointing, actual events and actual things that actually happen in Warframe. I can kind of think we're dancing around that idea. And then with the whole Jade Light, it's great to see that, but I would like to see a little bit more of Stalker being mean and being who he is supposed to be. And then we get the whole cinematic and everything. I get that we have that moment, but we're adding in another 4-hour farm. That's man, another 4-hour farm. But it would be nice to see in the future, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully that we actually see some more story, maybe even something that Soulframe brings in to Warframe. I'm not sure. But yeah. Kind of what I'm getting from this episode is a lot of confusion. A lot of we don't know what we're doing, and maybe we know what we're doing, but even the Kufa weapons, it's just a reskin. Even the mods, it seems like we don't know what we're doing with the whole UI, and we're trying to test things out. So I'd like to see what actually happens with that. Maybe there's a few new ideas that come from that. Argon crystals, I love that new change there that they made, the new change to argon crystals.
That was lovely.
That was lovely. I love to see that, making the UI simpler, and especially for newer players that don't know that those are rare resources, making those more obvious. Same thing for capture targets. If you don't know the capture target is down, it makes it, is something where it's like, the capture target's down, it starts blinking in that direction with the waypoint. That would be great. So you know that that target is down. It would make it more obvious. The gear wheel and the orbiter, again, this is a great development. This is great because then if I need to go to Void Relics, I can just fast travel there instead of having to go through the entire UI just to go through and try to read and try to find Void Relics. I have it right here on the UI wheel. This is great. This works. Frost, again, trying to keep the original condition of the Warframe. Same thing with Nocturne. I don't like it when we go on these rolls and we're going to go ahead and take a wrecking ball and ruin the entire character for everybody. Well, maybe it's just me. Who knows? Maybe it's just me. Maybe the new Nocturne is just what you guys needed and he's the demon in your nightmares. And I mean, that's fine, but I really like the original idea, which is he is the nightmare. He actually weaves himself into and in and out of your dreams. I love that part about Nocturne. And I'd like to see the same thing with Frost. I'd like to see him kind of stay the same and maybe even kind of change him for the better and maybe even keeping it simple. I like the idea of just keeping it simple, make a few changes so that the passive is actually useful and it actually has a part in his kit that actually makes sense. I don't think the new part in his kit makes sense. In fact, I actually find it kind of inconsistent because of the frost coming on and off of the Warframe. So that's just completely inconsistent. And especially with Warframe, I'd like to see the old tile sets come back. That actually is pretty cool. Maybe even change the tile sets because I know some of them are kind of repetitive and some of them are kind of annoying for the old tile sets. That would be cool to actually see the old tile sets kind of get a rework a little bit because I know some of them are kind of annoying. But the old tile sets, I do love the old tile sets. Having those come back in, that would be pretty cool. And yeah, just I like the Jade light. Kind of cool. It's great that we have a stalker moment. That is pretty epic at the very end where, everything happens at the very end of that quest. But at the same time, Stalker is supposed to be the bane of our existence. He's supposed to be the hunter that hunts us. And I would like to see him be just mean again. And I just can't keep on thinking that we're kind of ruining Stalker's role, his image. And I would like to even see, because like they even read, I would even read this to be honest. Let's go back to here. The heart of the labyrinth, none darker than the stalkers. At the center lays answers, loss and life. One lost, another gained. No, that's not the quote I was meaning to read. But it was something along the lines, I believe, in either the update notes or the patch notes, along the lines of, let's reveal more of Stalker's past and let's kind of delve into Stalker's past. I was like, oh man, I'm all for that. I want to see the downfall of the Orkin. I want to see, this grand thing come to, to pass. And I want to see, us killing the Orkin, and I want to see the downfall of the Orkin, especially the downfall of the Orkin. And then we got none of that, and I was like, you kidding me? We got Stalker's girlfriend and all this, and we don't get to see the downfall of the Orkin? What is that? Come on. So, again, kind of like I was expecting a little bit more from that, and a little bit more story, and a little bit more like, hey, what actually happened in the downfall of the Orkin, and get more of like Stalker's perspective on it, and we didn't get any of that. So kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's all I can think of for Warframe for right now. Anything you can add into that or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, yeah. Yeah, but just for me, I love to see more secrets. That's something that I've kind of been dreaming about. It's just like, man, I'd love to see more secrets from the Void. Something that we don't see that's unexpected that we could actually tie in to the rest of the story, to the rest of Warframe. That would be so cool to see secrets. That would be really, really cool.
I like getting into all the nook and crannies of everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Warframe is one of these games that I keep on coming back to, and I go, man, this game is really, really good. You can't really ask for a better game.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, is that all the time we have for this episode?
Unfortunately, yes.
And we will see you guys in the very next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.